You know, I do prefer sequels to movies to try to be their own thing beyond just another or a repeat of the original film. And the best example I think is like Alien and then Aliens. They do fit and work, and they're in the same world, but they're two completely different. One's a horror movie, and the other one's an action adventure movie. Really, there's still horror elements in Aliens, but still more of a battle there. I mean, he has soldiers and everything. But anyway, boy, did the third Thor movie really take a giant leap from the tone and mood of the first two films. And a lot of people saw the Thor movies as being the weakest of the batch at that point early on. I don't really agree with that assessment. But compared to Iron Man and the Captain America movies and all that, yeah, Thor kind of comes in third to that. But here we ended up with what I always referred to as Guardians of the Galaxy 3. I mean, and actually my favorite of the Guardians of the Galaxy movies. But still, there is a certain weakness, and sometimes here, yes, the humor does step all over the toes of the film. And right off the bat, it starts out that way, and I know it's funny, but I just don't think it's a little too much. Well, where he's hanging there and he's narrating what happened, and suddenly Thor is a very funny guy. He had his funny moments, but here he's trying to be a stand-up here, and I just don't think it works all that well. By the end of the movie, you accept it, and he works out. And Chris Hemsworth is a funny guy, but in the context of this supposed trilogy, I don't know. But anyway, we start off, he meets Surtur, which is another character from Norse mythology who's destined to destroy the universe, really. Ragnarok is sort of like the apocalypse, or the Book of Revelation or whatever for the Norse mythology. The world ends, and Surtur ends up burning everything away. And then the universe is reborn with a new heaven and a new earth and all that stuff. But and Thor dies fighting what was referred to as the Midgard serpent, which we never got to see. Yeah, we do see Fenris, the giant dog. He's there, and that's cool. And he has yes, sometimes the humor is good, sometimes it's not. But you can't help it. There's a point that Bruce Banner. Oh yeah, the Hulk guest stars here. He tries to force himself to turn into the Hulk, so he leaps out of a spaceship, and then he just drops and hits the ground right in front of the giant dog. And the dog, he's about to charge and kill all the Asgardians, and he stops and looks, what's this? It's just like a dog. He's sniffing Bruce Banner. He's like, oh, well, I don't know what this is about. And he continues on. And then, of course, he has to stop because the Hulk grabbed him by the tail. It's great. It fits in with the action and all that, and it's hilarious. All right, so Thor, back to the beginning here. He steals the crown of Surtur, and that sets up how this is going to end. Surtur is done, and they store it in their hall of nasty weapons alongside the Terrasect, or the Cosmic Cube, come on, and all that stuff. And he discovers that where Thor Dark World ended with Loki taking over Odin's position by impersonating him, and where was Odin? Oh no, this looks sinister, and it's just a joke. Loki's just sitting there having a good old time, having a play about himself done and hanging out with the girls and eating grapes and stuff. And then Thor's like, hey, what the hell's going on? And then he realizes it's Loki. And the idea, I mean, it does handle it well enough, but good Lord, he was convinced Loki was dead, and he mourned him and all that. And they do discuss it, but it's done kind of in the sitcom-y way. So what are you going to do? The other aspects of it is the color of the film is different, and the approach with 80s synthesizer music, it's kind of cool. I don't know. For some reason, I kept thinking of the Flash Gordon movie from the 80s and all that stuff, which, hey, maybe they should look into that Flash Gordon movie. But anyway, there's things that work and there's things that doesn't, but it's an entertaining film. It's one of the fun ones, and I liked it. And like I said, it's the best of Guardians of the Galaxy because it's very much like that, very much in tone. And when they thought James Gunn wasn't going to come back, turns out I think we were lied to about that. They just made it look like he was gone. That who would do Guardians of the Galaxy 3 and Taika Waititi was the obvious choice, but he immediately said, I don't want to do that because they didn't want bad blood and all that. But I don't think he was ever really fired. But that's another story. So you get the good romps. You have another race swap with Valkyrie. Now, I mean, they already did with Heimdall, and then there's an Asian man and one of the, I guess, the Guardian Warriors and all that. And so here you have Valkyrie, but it's getting to it gets more and more ridiculous. It's almost as if putting a white guy or an Asian guy in Black Panther's tights. You know, I mean, here you have a North mythology, and the Valkyrie were always supposed to be these blonde women on winged horses. And hey, who's this? So whatever. There she is. I don't even know if they ever actually said she was Brunhilde. I mean, in the battle scene with Hela that they flash back to, it looks like Brunhilde might have been there and she died in the battle. Maybe that's what they're suggesting. I don't know. Tessa went out and said, oh, yeah, her character is a lesbian and that the woman who died was her lover, but that's not really on the screen, and they seem to be suggesting there's an attraction between her and Thor. So, whatever. I don't know. Now there's people pushing and shipping her and Captain Marvel. Yeah, go ahead. I don't care. But anyway, none of this is on the screen here. The Hulk, of course, is funny. By the time you get to it, it's just you just got to accept the comedy. This is a parody of the previous Thor, and it's a comedy. It's not really a continuation of the other two. And yet it is. Well, what are you going to do? But very serious things happen. Odin dies. This is terrible. And there's a moment there you're almost like the old Thor, but then it's gone. And then you have to deal with this sister they never knew about, Hela, who's a monster, and she's all powerful, and she destroys Thor's hammer. And he's like, oh, what do I do? She castrated Thor. And Loki panics, and they escape through the Bifrost, but then that just gives her access to Asgard, which was very stupid, and they both end up collapsing and falling off to parts unknown, and she goes and takes over Asgard pretty quick. Carl Urban's here. He's a funny character, but man, Carl Urban is such a talent that just keeps getting wasted, and boy, he needs a franchise of his own because this is a fine actor. He totally nailed Dr. McCoy in the Star Trek movies. But anyway, Thor ends up going to Sakaar. Now, this is taken from the Planet Hulk story in the comics, where Hulk got blasted into space by Tony Stark because he was too much of a menace, and he ends up on this alien world and has a whole life, becomes a gladiator and all that. Well, there's just elements of it. The Grandmaster, played by Jeff Goldblum, again, funny character, he does it well, but he's not blue. He's supposed to be blue, and there's no real mention here whether or not he's the brother of the Collector, which Benicio del Toro plays. But in the comics, they are brothers. But, well, maybe they'll deal with that. I don't know. It looks like Grandmaster doesn't end so well at the end of this movie. So, I don't know. But anyway, it's a planet that is accessible through all these different portals, and Loki and Thor fall through these. Loki arrived, I don't know, a couple of weeks or so before Thor because the time is different. And Thor gets captured, and he becomes a gladiator, and there's all kind of little funny scenes here for that. And a lot of, like, Doctor Strange gave nods to the art stylings of Steve Ditko. There's just flat on, almost like murals painted by Jack Kirby here. So there's a lot of that, and that's all well and good. And there's a monument to the Hulk, who's their star champion gladiator. And then if you notice, one of the other monuments is Better Ray Bill from the Thor stories. He's an alien who's worthy to hold the hammer, ends up with a hammer of his own. So Thor, we discover the power was really within him to control lightning and the weather and all that sort of stuff. And the hammer was just a means by which to focus it. So that's all it was. He learns that he's Super Thor still. He and Hulk fight. It's all well and good. And then there's funny scenes where they become roommates, and that's it's a total sitcom deal, but there it is. And yes, a butt shot of Hulk, a naked Hulk, just like Thor, that is in your mind now, and you cannot unsee it. Finally, by seeing an old video of Black Widow, the Hulk finally turns back into Banner, and we discover that he's been the Hulk for the past 2 years. He just conveniently fell through a portal while in the Quinjet at the end of Civil War. Okay, I guess there's a portal somewhere on the Earth. I don't know where. And he arrives there. And so Banner's scared. Good Lord, if I turn into the Hulk again, I might never come back. But he does. Oh, yeah, this answers the question during Civil War. Hey, where's the Hulk? Or not Civil War, what am I talking about? He left Earth at the end of Ultron. Yeah, that one. Civil War, there's no Hulk and there's no Thor. Where were they? Well, now you have the answer. They're in this adventure. And so, of course, Thor finds a way to escape. He gets captured by Valkyrie in the first place. He's working for Grandmaster, and he convinces her eventually that they need to go back and try to save Asgard, and they do. They get a ship, they escape. There's a big chase scene and all that, and they finally get back to Asgard, and the big battle happens. And ultimately, Thor ends up losing his eye in the battle because Hela's more powerful than him, but he discovers his true power of thunder and fights back and then takes out her army of the dead. Hulk defeats the dog. And Valkyrie is using a giant cannon to help him out kill more army of the dead. And then, but still, Hela is still super powerful, even more so on Asgard. And what do you do? What do you do? Well, you send Loki to go get Surtur and ignite him. And Surtur begins to destroy Asgard, which is the source of Hela's power. And she's forced to fight Surtur, and the whole thing explodes and evaporates. And everybody escapes on a spaceship that Loki stole. It's more detailed than that, but I'm not going to recount the whole movie. And they're off, and this sets up for what happens in Infinity War. They're heading for Earth, where like Odin had suggested that Norway could be a new Asgard, and that's what they seem to be doing. There was a story in the Marvel Comics for a while where Asgard was hovering over Oklahoma or something like that, but maybe they were going to do something like that. But instead, they get interrupted by Thanos, and at the opening of Infinity War, well, we see the terrible events there. So a funny romp, more than I would have done, but people liked it. It did much better than even the projections thought, and it's a fun, good film, and better than Guardians of the Galaxy. I wasn't so keen on the first one. The second one I liked better, which is the opposite of what everyone else says, but anyway, it did influence this film, obviously. But as much as I kind of cringed here and there, some of the jokes were too much and taking out of context for the character, I guess it worked, and I was entertained. And in the end, that's all that matters. So there you go, Thor Ragnarok, and next, yes, Infinity War. I think I'll do a quick video discussing Spider-Man and the Guardians, maybe, if I had the time. Boy, am I running out of time on these. And but anyway, Infinity War will be next. So there you go. Thor Ragnarok. Thank you for watching and listening. Please like and subscribe. If you didn't like it, I appreciate it anyway. And if you did subscribe, thank you very, very much. And hey, while you're here, yes, check out that link description below. That'll take you to my many stores that have plenty of goodies for you.